guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another Star Wars Galactic Versus episode. Well, this is sort of a Galactic Versus episode, but really this is more me trying to answer a question that I've gotten all the time. People always want me to put one of the greatest minds in Star Wars against one of the greatest minds in Halo. The two individuals that I'm referring to are Vice Admiral Preston Cole and Grand Admiral Thrawn. I'm not going to do this battle in the traditional method. I'm not going to make these two minds battle it out or give them each a fleet and make them battle it out. Perhaps that will be something interesting for a different day. Instead, today I'm going to talk about which one of these two men, and I say men kind of with an asterisk next to it because Thrawn is not a human, but which one of these two minds I would want leading my military. This video might be a little bit shorter than normal, perhaps even under 10 minutes. I'm really just going to take a brief look at the history of these two commanders, and then I'm going to talk just generally about which one I would rather have. Preston Cole was one of the most notable military commanders, if not the most, in UNSC history, and he's, by at least my knowledge, the only one who never lost a space battle against the Covenant. Cole is nearly up there at Master Chief level in terms of importance to the human race within the Halo universe. I think the most notable thing about Cole is that he was one of the only commanders in the UNSC who were actually able to stop the Covenant's advance. Everywhere else, the Covenant was basically steamrolling UNSC space forces without any sort of difficulty. In one of the earliest battles of the war, Preston Cole, dealing with still relatively unknown Covenant energy shielding, successfully led a small fleet against a Covenant super destroyer. This was at the Battle of Harvest, and here Preston Cole discovered that Covenant energy shielding technology did have some weaknesses. He first peppered the Covenant ship's shields with MAC rounds, and then hit the ship itself with Archer missiles. This is a technique that humanity would use throughout the war. Preston, who before the Human-Covenant War had actually retired from military service, continued to move up the UNSC military ranks. He was given a large degree of control over elements of the UNSC Navy, winning several battles including the Battle of Alpha Arugay and the Battle of the Great Bear. And at most of these battles, the UNSC did outnumber the Covenant, but that was typically how battles during the Human-Covenant War went. Cole realized that humanity's greatest asset in the war against the Covenant was the fact that the Covenant did not know the location of Earth. To try to protect this secret, Cole created what was known as the Cole Protocol, which is basically a series of steps to make sure that the Covenant did not find the location of Earth, and this would stay in effect throughout the war. The Cole Protocol would go from fairly mundane, so if you encountered a Covenant ship, you're supposed to do a couple of slip space jumps before returning to Earth, to fairly serious, and on that end, it's if you're about to be captured by the Covenant, you must self-destruct the ship to protect the vital information stored in its computers. As I mentioned, the Cole Protocol would actually become law and would become a very important part of humanity's survival. Between the creation of the Cole Protocol and the end of his life, Preston Cole commanded UNSC forces in 23 battles. Besides for on 2 occasions when he retreated, Cole won every single battle that he participated in. Colonies were still lost all the time, but Cole really significantly slowed the Covenant's advance. The last battle of Cole's career was arguably the most impressive. That was the Battle of Psi Serpentis, where Cole took 162 ships and managed to take down 2 entire Covenant fleets of almost double the force. Cole's brilliance was clearly on display here. He did several really intelligent things, which led his fleet to victory. First, Cole had half his fleet do an in-system slip space jump, which was considered very difficult for the UNSC. This split the Covenant force into 2 parts. He also coordinated with an insurrectionist group who hit the Covenant when they were weak and took down a bunch of their ships. As the second Covenant fleet arrived, Cole basically goaded them into following him close to a planet. The planet's magnetosphere made Covenant plasma weaponry much less useful, and more importantly, Cole fired all of his munitions, which he had been stockpiling since before the battle, into the gas giant, causing it to turn into a brown dwarf, consuming the Covenant fleet and presumably Cole as well. Conspiracy theories raged on, stating that Cole was actually still alive, but as for now, we have no confirmation. What is clear to me, however, is that Cole is tactically brilliant. Even if he couldn't sway the war in the UNSC's favor, he did everything that any human could have done. What about Thrawn though? the Chiss from the Unknown Regions who would later lead the Empire to near victory against the New Republic, and just for clarity, we're looking at the Legends version of Thrawn here. Early in Thrawn's life, he actually worked for the Chiss military, but after he was exiled, the Empire basically scooped him up and put him into a command position. While the Empire was still in government, Thrawn was basically given free range to operate within the Unknown Regions. He established the Empire of the Hand, which was meant to consolidate the Empire's power within that region and protect the galaxy against threats originating both within the Unknown Regions and from outside the galaxy, which is quite appropriate given the fact that he is a Chiss. Later, after the Battle of Endor, Thrawn re-emerged and led the Empire in a massive campaign against the New Republic, and he was almost successful. Here, and these are the events of the Thrawn trilogy, are where we see his true brilliance. Thrawn took what was a relatively small Imperial force and openly challenged the New Republic. The thing about Thrawn is, while he's a military tactician and while he's able to successfully win almost any battle he's put into, where Thrawn excels is on a macro level. He thinks about 10 steps ahead of everyone else. Everything that Thrawn does is working towards a greater goal, a goal that literally no one else in the entire galaxy understands. Thrawn managed to not only get the help of a deranged clone Jedi Master, but also recovered advanced cloning technology, actually perfecting that technology, capturing the Katana fleet, capturing stealth technology, and basically making all of those things work together. After the Empire captured the fleet, the New Republic thought, well, they're not going to have enough people to man it. Then we find out that Thrawn has clones and manning the fleet suddenly becomes no problem. He then uses the Jedi Master, the Cloaking Shield, and the new Katana fleets to trick the New Republic into thinking that he's developed some sort of super weapon which allows him to shoot through planetary shields. The thing about Thrawn is that he is never tricked, not once. Thrawn does not make any serious tactical mistakes. He foresees attacks when literally no one else in the Empire does. Even when he's got Imperial intelligence telling him that the New Republic is going to do an attack here, he just knows that the New Republic is going to attack somewhere else. He's so good that people are scared to operate and to attack and to make plans because they think that they are being manipulated by Thrawn, and you know what? Most of the time they are. Were it not for the betrayal of the Noghri and the combined efforts of Mara Jade, Luke Skywalker, and the other heroes of the Rebellion, Thrawn would have defeated the New Republic and he would have ruled the galaxy. As I said, Thrawn's most impressive quality is his ability to foresee the actions of others. One of the unique ways he does this is by looking at the art of individual species. By looking at the art of an individual species, Thrawn can predict how they will act based on their culture, and he does this several times throughout the Thrawn trilogy, each time to great success. Before major battles, whenever Captain Pellaeon is visiting Thrawn in his personal quarters, it's always illuminated with the arts of the various cultures or species that he'll be attacking next, and that was one of my favorite parts of the Thrawn trilogy. It is perhaps a bit ironic, I suppose, that he didn't foresee the Noghri's betrayal, but that's something for a different day. The question is thus, which military mind would I actually want leading my forces during wartime? If I haven't made it clear already, I'm obviously going to go with Thrawn. While Preston Cole is an absolutely amazing tactician and he's nearly unbeatable in battle, Thrawn is written to be almost godlike. He's, in my opinion, the smartest person in the Star Wars universe. Thrawn's also an amazing tactician in battle, but he's also able to turn the tides of war on an amazing macro scale. I'm fully convinced that had Thrawn been in the galaxy during the Rebellion and coordinating the Empire's war efforts against the Rebellion, that they wouldn't have succeeded, at least in Star Wars Legends. That's not to say that Thrawn wasn't involved in hunting the Rebellion, but he wasn't in full command at the Empire's forces at the time, and when he was really needed, at least in my opinion, he was out in the Unknown Regions. If the UNSC had had Thrawn during the Covenant's initial invasion, I think they might have had a fighting chance. Thrawn succeeds by determining how a person's culture affects them militarily. I think the Covenant would have been prime for this. They are very doctrinal, and their reliance on religion, and I guess by extension the arts, would have provided him with a lot of insight. I would have loved to see how Thrawn would have used things like Spartan teams, artificial intelligence, and high-powered bombs. I'm actually not sure who would win in an individual battle, Thrawn and Cole, supposing that they both had equal fleets. But I just know generally if I want a campaign being run, I want Thrawn to do it. He is written to be almost godlike, as I think I've mentioned already. Cole is amazing and he's a hero, but ultimately he's only human. Thrawn is something else. From raiding the Empire's storehouse, to using Master Jorah's Sabaoth, to using the Islamari to help speed up the cloning process, Thrawn was a genius. He had such an infamous legacy in the Star Wars universe that years later, just mere whispers of a possible Thrawn clone almost put the galaxy in a civil war. This has really became a Thrawn-centered episode, but that's okay. This is why I'm telling people that Thrawn being brought into Star Wars canon is super important. Thrawn's story in Star Wars Legends was super interesting, and really the Thrawn trilogy is what revitalized the Star Wars expanded universe. I will say I always was a little bit disappointed with his death. Was disappointing to see such a brilliant military tactician be killed by an assassin and his own personal bodyguard. But we don't know what's going to happen with him in Star Wars canon. He might have some influence on the galaxy in the years to come. Hopefully he's not killed in Star Wars Rebels. I guess we'll see. Anyways, this episode has been a bit rambly, but this video might be a little bit shorter than normal, perhaps even under 10 minutes. I'm really just gonna... But if I had to choose between Thrawn and Cole, I think I would take Thrawn 10 times out of 10. That's not to say that Cole's not amazing. I think I would take him basically over any other character in Star Wars, but Thrawn is just too good. Anyways, let me know what you guys thought about this episode, if you agree with my predictions and my choice, and how you'd like to see Thrawn handled for the rest of the new canon. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys. As always, this has been EckhartsLadder. May the Force be with you.